Hello everyone, welcome back to Intuitive Conversations with Tamara and Chantel. I'm Chantel Neufeld.
I'm Tamara Franz.
And I'm excited about the book that we are going through.
Yeah, so in our last episode we were talking about what can we replace our fear with, and we talked about things like curiosity and creativity, and then it just so happened that you had recently picked up Big Magic, right, in a bookstore somewhere.
And you already had it.
Yeah, and I just spent the last year going through this with my wonderful women's book group. And so, yeah, this is just so appropriate for this time in our human journey, I think, because we are called to create something new. We have a paradigm that is dissolving. There are people that are trying desperately to hold on to it, but it is dying a very inelegant and protracted, undignified death. But the fear for people is what comes in its place, right? Because we're used to all of these systems. We're used to the form of politics that has been governing our world for so long. But this is the book for our times, I think, for us to really step into our mandate as creative beings. Like, this is the divine spark that we have the ability to create consciously. And so Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, is all about living the creative life, which is, for us, the pivot away from fear.
100%.
Yeah. So we were just talking over coffee the other day about the first section of this book, which is all about courage.
We welcome you guys to find the book, read along, or, there's a free Amazon preview or whatever. So what stood out to me about the first section about courage was just this idea of welcoming, like having a welcoming speech for fear. Like, like, I see you there, but you're not going to be driving the bus. Like, you can have a back seat. I welcome you. I know you're there. It's not like I'm going to go through life without you, but you're not going to make the decisions.
Yeah. She has a really wise observation in here where she says, the more we try to kill our fear, we inadvertently end up murdering our creativity, because we try to kill fear by living safely. Right? We stay in the safety zone. We make everything secure. We exercise a lot of control. And then we create an environment where creativity can't survive. So we both really loved this quote early on from Walt Whitman, who is one of my absolute favorite poets. We must risk delight. We must have the stubbornness to accept our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world. Isn't that amazing language? Like, if our world isn't a ruthless furnace right now, I don't know. I don't want to see what that would, we've been there before, right? We've been in the ruthless furnace before. And, we are in a time where we could easily go into a lot of fear about what's happening, but we have the chance to create something new.
When I was a kid, I was called rebellious, and I'm going to embrace that right now.
Yay, you.
Because, like, delight and joy is the most rebellious force on the planet.
It's true.
Even, like, in the Holocaust, when they were, in the concentration camps, they said that was how they maintained their power, was by joy, by laughter, by,
That makes me think of that movie, La Vita è Bella, Life is Beautiful, with...
I haven't seen it, but I'm curious.
Okay, so it is a Holocaust movie.
Okay.
Roberto Benigni is the director and the main actor, and he is captured along with his son and taken to a concentration camp. But he has such an ability to create worlds with his humor that he turns everything, because his son can't speak the language. They're from Italy, and so the Nazis, his son can't speak the language, and he interprets everything in a completely different way. And so the guard comes in and yells at them, and then he says, he tells us we're going to play a game. And it's, whoever can stay hidden the longest or whatever gets the prize. And
Well, how
He
creative.
completely reframes the entire experience for his son, and because of that, the son survives and is reunited with the mother at the end of the film. Sorry, spoilers, but but the power of creativity to reframe reality.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking through like all of those like stories of how people can. Okay, so Esther Perel, my my new mentor, her parents were in the Holocaust, in the concentration camps. They were the only members of their family that survived. And then they moved to Belgium into this community where they had a whole bunch of Holocaust survivors. And she said, like, half of them actually lived after that and were creative and like chose the love path, and half of them just stayed frozen in fear, and they just, everything was dark in their house, their windows were closed, like they were just in that like keep me safe mode.
Yeah.
And so that is such a powerful picture of the choices that we have.
And that's a really literal story about, I think, the state of the world, where half of us live in fear of, if I'm creative, I'll be punished. I'll be punished because I will outshine somebody who's threatened by my creativity, or I will bring in some new energy or some new idea that is threatening or uncomfortable for people, or I will make myself look foolish and then I'll risk social rejection or
failure or whatever. Yeah,
it's a risky business being creative. But then Elizabeth Gilbert talks about, she asks the question, do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you? And she has this lovely idea here where she says, I believe this is she says, I happen to believe we are all walking repositories of buried treasure. I believe this is one of the oldest and most generous tricks the universe plays on us human beings. The universe buries strange jewels deep within us all and then stands back to see if we can find them.
That brings to mind a few readings that I've had, and like sort of about the trajectory of my life, or like how things are going to go for me in the future. And music is a huge part of that. Music has been a huge part of my past, but like the past 10, 20 years, like raising kids, I've kind of let that, fall to the back burner. And, I love playing the violin, and I got to this point where it's just like, and she talks about it in the book too, about music, like, or if I can't be the best, then why try? Like if I can't be like automatically up there, then why try? But what about creativity and that, like, just for the sake of feeling it, like just for the sake of, like, even every time I hear a song in my car, my fingers are playing the music. You know what I mean? Like I just feel it flowing through me. Like, why not set aside time to feel that, and to at least do something I love every day, instead of like survive the day. Be like, what do I have to get done? This is like, what do I want to do?
We've been really tricked into the idea that creativity comes packaged, and only the select few have the talent to get to that level where their creativity can be packaged for our consumption. And we've kind of been done a disservice with all of the entertainment that's available to us through all the various media that we have, because humans are natural storytellers, and we could be every day telling each other our stories, around the fire, as our ancestors used to do. But now the stories are told for us on film. And now the music is played for us in the concert halls, and and we don't consider how many times do you have somebody say to you, oh, I can't draw. I can't draw, and as a literacy coach, I would always encourage teachers to write in front of their students, to draw in front of their students. Oh, but I can't draw. I can't draw. I can't write. I'm not a good speller. All those kinds of things. We find so many excuses to keep our creativity under wraps, and it's so disempowering.
And you have like a personal journey with that, with like writing, because like you feel like that's who you are, like you're a writer and you have published things, and like maybe tell our viewers a little bit about like that journey of, you know.
Well, I'll always say I suck at self-promotion. And so, yes, even though all forms of expression, really, writing, speaking,
It's
and
creativity.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Yeah. But yes, I probably in adolescence developed a terrible perfectionism. And so, there's always that inner critic that's like, oh, but why would anybody want to read this?
or why
Oh,
bother if you can't be the best?
right. And
Yeah.
there's like a million books out there already about this topic. So why would you, and it's such a act of sabotage to let that left brain come in and be the critic. And you're so good at, even with this podcast, I will say every time I post a podcast on my social media, I'm like, oh, okay, no one's going to watch this. Why would they watch this? I'm embarrassing myself on video for everyone, typical left brain. And then you'll say, who cares if no one watches this? It's our self-expression.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And as a kid, we both talk about, the tape recorder and how hours and hours of just doing interviews with friends or radio shows or there's a need for self-expression. And when that, like Carl Jung found, when we're not creatively expressing, it goes inward and becomes neurosis and depression eventually, especially for women, I think.
Yeah, because they have so much to give, so much wisdom. I had it framed once where like we're always having so much input, like if we're listening to podcasts, reading books, all this stuff, our whole life is also a story, but then we put it through our lenses and our interpretation, and then we can like literally interpret it for our circle who wouldn't have otherwise read those books or listened to those podcasts or had those life experiences. And so, I mean, I feel like it's a huge trick to think like, oh, that book's already been written. No, it hasn't.
Yeah. And
no one has our filter.
How many times do we come together and to talk about a book we've both read, and then you've taken completely different things from it, and it triggers different stories for you, and we have wonderful conversations because we're letting the creative thinking just go where it will.
Yeah. And some of my favorite podcast episodes have been where we hadn't planned that much. Like we hadn't really talked about it. We hadn't really, like all we did was set an intention. It was basically like set a container and then we can, play in that container.
Yeah.
It's almost like the masculine feminine energy. Like the masculine energy is very like container like in structure and logic, right? And then the feminine is very playful, creative, like just flowy and like what if this, what if that, like how fun.
I think that's one reason why we get talked or trained out of our creativity from a young age, like starting from about adolescence, is because creativity is and should feel like play. And then there's a mindset in our patriarchal paradigm that is like, adults don't play, the play you've grown out of that, you shouldn't. And there's still the guilt, if now that I'm retired, if I spend a day writing a blog or doing something, spending a morning working with my tarot cards, which feels like play to me, there's this guilt of I should be accounting for my time. I should be like doing something useful. I should be and there's so much should around, and I think there's not a lot of, when we put shoulds around creativity, we kill it. So we can't really, if we want to practice creativity, we have to put the shoulds out the door, and that's kind of terrifying for the ego.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love what she says about a creative life is an amplified life. It's a bigger life, a happier life, an expanded life, and a hell of a lot more interesting life. So like we talked about flatlining in our last episode, and so many people want to stay small because that's safe. And being creative is a risk, but it's an expansion. Every time you take a risk, you get to expand yourself a little more.
An end of life, when you talk to someone on their deathbed, they always are just like, they wanted more of those experiences that they loved, more of those experiences with connecting with family and playing, and that's what is of value. It's not that I should have done more chores. I should have accounted for my time. Like, what is that? Like,
and what you're saying makes me think that, like, you are more you when you're being creative than maybe at almost any other time.
mm-hmm.
And what is the legacy you want to leave the world and leave your children and grandchildren? It's that they saw the authentic you, connected with the authentic you, that you gave your heart.
Yeah.
And that's all about living creatively.
And I love the authentic thing too, like where your kids know that you did try to have the best life that you wanted to, and you didn't just self-sabotage and sacrifice for everyone else and not live your own life. Like,
I think every time you commit a creative act, you are blazing a trail for other people. And what an example to set for your children and grandchildren, that you have the courage to risk and get out there and try something that's scary.
mm-hmm.
Creativity is scary because it makes you vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting actually more of yourself forward, right? Kids, when I think about my work in the education system, like when you're an English teacher or you're a classroom teacher and you're having kids write, that's the time when they are most vulnerable, is when they share their writing. But at the same time, it's what they want to do, because everybody wants to be seen for who they are. And it's in your creative living and bringing forward those treasures and gifts that you are most seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, what is the creativity that wants to express in you? What is in there begging to be heard or seen? We used to do guided imagery and music work with clients, where they're reclining and they're listening to music in a relaxed state and just talking about what's coming up. And I often would, say, where do you feel that in the body? Where do you feel that? And there was so much for women around the throat. Often things were blocked there because the creativity, the truth is, there's such a fear of expressing what is true. And when you live in a system that is not acknowledging the power of women and girls, and there is so much suppression that happens. I lost my singing voice at 18. I lost it, ironically enough, singing in church. Like, my voice just went, what? On a really high note, and from that point on, I had lost my range. It was devastating. But in later years, I look back and I thought, what was it that I was choking off there? For so long, living in a system that suppressed women's creative voices, and you could not stand behind the pulpit and speak and be seen. So we harm ourselves when we suppress our creativity.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me at all if your singing voice came back. The more that you feel free to be yourself now that you're retired, and you don't feel like you're speaking on behalf of anyone you're working for, or
yeah.
You don't have those things holding you back anymore.
Yeah. If I open my big mouth, it's not going to reflect on my employer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love the litany of fears that she writes. I mean, she names...
It's pages and pages and pages of every kind of fear you can imagine.
You're afraid you have no talent. You're afraid you'll be rejected or criticized or ridiculed, misunderstood. You're afraid there's no market for your creativity. You're afraid you're too old. You're afraid someone's already done it all. They're all here. And the thing is, eventually, as she says, fear becomes boring. It's the same old, right? We keep ourselves safe by sitting in the same pew in church every Sunday, or having our same routine. I'm going to go shop for my groceries on this day, and I'm going to do this on that day, and I'm having my coffee at this time of the day.
Yeah, I feel like the fear of social death and the fear of death, like once those can kind of be, looked at instead of being lost in them, then the freer we are.
Yeah, and when we finally become bored of being afraid, of letting our fears hamstring us.
And it's not about like making it the enemy, or trying to suppress it because you would spend all your energy doing that. It's like befriending it. You can take a back seat. Like, I know you're there. And I'm going to be best friends with creativity and we're going to drive this bus.
Yes. I have a great book on my shelf called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Like that Mel Robbins 3, 2, 1, go. You know, what's your ideas instead of having your conscious mind talk you out of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So we invite you to think about how you can step into your creativity, even in the smallest of ways, right? Just take a different route walking to work or driving to work, or I don't know, garnish your food, like do a little pretty presentation the next time you put your plates on the table.
Pick your favorite spoon from the drawer. Anything.
Yes, you use a new word, or
curate your life. You know, find your beautiful shirt at the thrift store and wear it for the world. Yes.
All right, so enjoy your creative life, and until next time,
keep following your heart song.